Executive Committee will now come to order. We are convened as of noon, 12 noon. I would respectfully ask that everyone attending this meeting mute yourself unless you're recognized to speak. Please note that the committee meetings of the RTD Board of Directors will be held remotely via Zoom and will be audio and video recorded. The meeting recordings, along with the unofficial minutes of the meeting, will be posted as soon as practicable on the board's website. During today's meeting, we are providing communication access real-time translation, also known as CART. Anyone who would like to access this service should send an email to the RTD board office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd-denver.com, and a link will be provided. Additionally, the CART transcript can be automatically translated for anyone who would like to access a live transcript of this meeting in Spanish. A live stream of the meeting is also available via RTD's YouTube page. I will now call the roll for the committee members. First, Chair Harwick.
I'm here.
Second, Vice Chair Guttenritter.
I am also here.
Secretary Nicholson.
Present.
And Treasurer Banker.
I'm here too.
And the Chair O'Keefe is here. Let me see. For the record, I see that we have Director Whitmore, and that is it. We've been joined by GM CEO Johnson too. I'd like to open the public comment to anyone who would like to address the committee regarding any topic listed in the published meeting agenda for the current and immediately preceding month. If you would like to speak and have not already done so, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 on your phone. During this time, the committee will not offer any direct comments or responses. However, if you would like to be contacted regarding your public comment, please email the RTD board office at rtd.boardoffice@rtd/denver.com. Mr. Kroll, are there any hands raised for public comment?
Chair O'Keefe, this is Jack Kroll, Executive Manager of the Board Office. As introduced, there are no hands raised. And in anticipation of your next question, there were no written comments provided either.
All right. So we jump ahead here. With no participants in the queue, we'll close public comment period at this time. I know we have a little bit of time constraint for some of the committee members, so we have one recommended action on the agenda this afternoon, and that action is for the standing committee appointments for the board of directors to ratify for 2026. As a reminder, each year the executive committee appoints between 5 and 7 committee members to our 3 standing committees. The board office requested and subsequently published the stated preferences of all directors. Having reviewed these and held conversations with directors, I will soon propose a set of committee appointments which honor a vast majority of directors' stated preferences, but not all, ensure a fair division of our collective workload, leverage directors' experiences, expertise, and align with our historic practices, and generally, I would like to note, generally reflect the overall composition of the board on each committee. Given that I move to make the following appointments, and I'll do them en bloc, and we can consider them en bloc. For the Finance and Planning Committee, new Director Cynthia Curie, the new A, so Karen Banker doesn't get to be first anymore. Director Karen Banker, Director Lynn Geisinger, Director Chris Guttenritter, Director Michael Guzman, Director Matt Larson, and Director Joyanne Rusha. For the Operations, Safety, and Security Committee, Director Julian Bouquet, Director Vince Busick, Kathleen Chandler, Ian Harwick, Chris Nicholson, Brett Pagliori, and Troy Whitmore. For the Performance Committee, Directors Kathleen Chandler, Lynn Geisinger, Chris Guttenritter, Michael Guzman, Chris Nicholson, Matt Larson, and myself for one committee assignment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Harwick. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair? Hello?
No discussion. Oh, yeah, there we
No,
go.
hey,
I
yes.
figured I've given you a little time.
You
Director
were
Nicholson.
I froze up or you froze up, so I don't know what happened there.
Probably me, sorry.
So I'd like to make a small amendment to your recommendations to substitute Director Arcuri in place of Director Geisinger on performance. And then I have some stuff to say about why.
Okay, so that is the motion, and Director Nicholson, why don't you just go ahead and explain your motion?
I'd like to second if you need.
Oh
a
yeah,
second,
sorry, we didn't have a
Lynn.
second. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, simple reason. So Director Arcuri has had an incredibly impressive record of service in government and specifically in metrics-driven analysis and management. I sent around her biography for all of you to look at this evening to back up what I'm saying. I believe these are skills that will be invaluable in our conversations around performance management and goal setting. In addition, her management experience in government prepares her very well for the primary responsibility of the committee. Director Geisinger has served every year since the committee was created in 2023. This year, she placed performance third on her preferences list. I'll also note that I did the analysis, and with this change, every director will receive either their first or second preference for every single committee assignment. So in sum, Director Arcuri is incredibly well prepared to do the job. Director Geisinger has served on performance for a while, and I think it's reasonable at this point to pass the torch. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the motion, Treasurer Binker?
I just wanted to add, I had a chance to talk to Cindy about this because she told me, we had a conversation about what committee she might be interested. What I found interesting that she brought up that I hadn't really thought about is, her definition of performance is not just talking about, what the performance numbers that we've selected for the CEO, but she wanted to look at performance for the entire agency. Because as you know, budget and performance measures go hand in hand. And so, normally when you're in the budget, you're a budget analyst, you give an agency a certain amount of money and they promise to do X, Y, Z. And so that's what she wanted to get into. And I thought, oh, that's a sort of a unique view of the performance committee and probably what we should be doing more of, in my opinion. So anyway, I thought she was very perceptive. And so, I hope we say yes to this. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Second Vice Chair Gutenritter.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think very highly of Director Geisinger. I have a lot of respect for her opinion, and so would love to have her on performance, but I've not had a chance to talk to her about this, but seeing that she ranked it third, I mean, I think that speaks loudly, and I kind of take that to mean she'd be okay not being on that committee. And reviewing director, and I don't have her last name in front of me. Arcuri. Looking at Director Arcuri's background and speaking with her and hearing about her experience, I do think she would be a valuable fit to the performance committee. So I'm supportive of this.
Okay. First Vice Chair Harwick.
So I don't know Director Arcuri, hardly at all. And I'm frankly, I'm not opposed to her being on this, but and I know Lynn picked that this is her third pick, but I am very much in support of her staying on this committee, and I'm looking at this from a continuity standpoint. Like, she has been on it since the beginning. She's been through this, and like, we don't know what's coming, but like, Lynn has been there in a way that nobody else has been there. And while this is not her first pick, I am highly skeptical of having her step away at a time when we really need some veteran leadership to make sure that that like we have a steady hand at the wheel, just dealing with like just the unknowns. So I am this has nothing to do with Director Arcuria at all. This is just purely from a standpoint of just making sure we have a steady ship, and this is this is her 8th and final year, and I think that she provides a longer term perspective that, again, nothing to be said for any of this other people on this, but that would put the group of us that would, or not me, but everybody else that would be on performance would have, at the most would be Guzman, this will be his 4th year, and nothing against his veteran leadership, but like when he's the vet there, I'm really, really against pulling away. Sorry, Michael, there you are. I didn't realize you were on here. I didn't mean to be talking about you. But again, like I just really think it's important for us to keep Lynn here in this space.
Thank you. Director Guzman, let me just say a couple words and then I'll recognize you. I think it's important for the committee to know why I did this. So I had a conversation with 2 people that had been on the committee in the past, Director Geisinger and Director Busick. And my concern is, it was perfectly summarized by First Vice Chair Harwick, that the blend of the committee, if this is a swap one for the other, we end up with exactly one person representing the 8 directors that have some sort of context and history with it. And since we're coming up to, we're dealing with the end of a term of a contract, I certainly don't have any experience with that on the RTD board, and we would have most of the committee absent that experience. That was the conversation that I had with Director Geisinger about the committee and making sure that we had kind of a balanced representation, so the committee doesn't come up with recommendations on a path forward and it comes to the board and it's met with a different kind of setup of opinions. So I was trying to balance a committee with preferences and with experience, and that's how I ended up with this slate of people. And I know she put it 3rd. Director Whitmore, I think, had it 2nd or 3rd, and he is carrying a lot of weight on audit. So that was the logic behind it. Director Guzman, you took your hand down? You're okay? Okay. So Director Harwick said it better than I could. I'm sorry, Secretary Nicholson.
Yeah, so I'll just close by making a point that I was going to make earlier. The people who will be on the board in 2027 will be the ones living with the consequences of the decisions that are made on performance this year. And I think that if there was ever a moment where we should be putting additional weight on those individuals, it is on a choice where some of us will be living with the consequences significantly more than some of the other directors. I'll also just say that every director is allowed and encouraged to participate in every committee meeting, which means that Director Geisinger is more than welcome to come and voice her opinion in the meetings, to talk to other directors. She would just not have a vote. That would be my...
If I can, I'm going to call myself to reply to that. So we do have good representation. 5 of the 7 will be living with this going forward. That's a pretty weighty amount. And I think that Director Arcuri's voice would be very important to have on this. And the same would apply to her. She can show up to any committee meeting and carry that going forward. So that 5 to 7 is a pretty strong weight to a board that is 7 to 8. 8 people who have been on and 7 who are 1 year in, and the committee is pretty heavily weighted 5 to 7 the other direction. So that's again the logic that I'm trying to stick with. I do not want to make it any bigger. That is an option for us. I think that it's large enough the way it is right now. We do, I think, need to be mindful of keeping an odd number in case there is a vote that gets conflicted. I don't know what our other than flipping a coin, what we do. I guess it would be a loss if that's how it works in Congress. If you have a tie vote is a loss. And I don't think that captures the spirit of it either when you have that many people voting for it. So anyway, that's my thought process, less than I don't mean that as a reply to you, Director Nicholson. It's just that's the logic that I'm sticking with on this. Director Guzman.
Thank you for that conversation. I want to point out two things. One, we haven't chosen leadership on any of these committees yet, and the committee members will need to convene to do that. And I think it's wise to have Lynn remain on this committee for all of the previously stated reasons. But I also, it is my last year on the board. And this is a committee that's really important to my heart. And so I want to make sure that I stick that out. I take Secretary Nicholson's point, right, that there will be other members that continue forward. When I joined the board, the practice was that newly elected directors were not usually put onto the performance committee because we needed to learn how to work through the committee structures, basically learn the ropes and move forward. It changed when I joined the board, and I was a new director assigned to the performance committee, participating fully and learning. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other on that. I believe the point that you made, and I want to suggest this, understanding the conversations that directors have had about what leadership might look like this year on committees. Whoever chairs that committee is going to have a hell of a responsibility to carry a lot of weight and a lot of work. Last year was not simple by any means, and as the chair and first Vice Chair Gutschenritter, who was the vice chair on that committee, well know, it is an intense committee at the end of the year. At the same time, many other things are going on, and it requires persistent dedication and attention all year long to do work very efficiently and quickly. And I think that requires the directors to know the ropes and at least have some practice there. So if things do go off the rails during a meeting or in the planning process, we can regain control and continue forward with a very stacked work plan on that committee. It is small and not always often recognized, but it is a mighty committee that does yeoman's work all year long, quietly, in addition to everything else going on. And we don't get 4-hour meetings on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. We have an hour and a half at best on a Monday morning currently. And that means all of that work for the whole year has to be condensed and processed publicly during our meeting, and the background work needs to be done. You cannot do that if you don't have the experience on the committee to get that done. So I would suggest not approving the amendment that was made and going with the original suggestion of lineup. I believe that's a wiser choice. I say that both as a director of the board, but I also say that in a place of leadership, having led that committee, I believe that Chair O'Keefe's decision on that is probably the better way to go. So I would hope that we would turn this amendment down and go forward with the original proposal. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? I just wanted to close with Director Curie's experience is going to be hugely valuable. Like I mean, I cannot tell you how happy I am to have someone who can work with Director Banker, honestly, and on helping us decode some of the budget issues and also provide a little bit better performance management of our, how we're managing our not just staff but budget and everything. So I'm very excited she's on the board, and it's a small bit of solace for me with losing Director Catlin that we've got someone who kind of comes in and plugs really quickly. So this is not a statement. It's just trying to get a balance of new versus old on the committee. Director Nicholson, do you have anything final to say before we call the vote? Anything else?
Nope, let's take a vote so Chris can get off and go to his thing.
All right, let's go. I don't have I gotta go back to I didn't have a thing of votes here. I gotta go back to okay. Let's start. First, Vice Chair Harwick.
We're voting on the amendment, correct?
On the amendment, sorry.
I am a no on the amendment.
Okay. Second, Vice Chair Gutenritter.
I'm a no on the amendment.
Okay. Secretary Nicholson.
I'm a yes on the amendment.
Nicholson, yes. Treasurer Banker.
Yes.
Okay, and the chair is a no. So that is a fails 2-3 on the proposal. And thank you for having that discussion. I like the fact that we get a little challenge on the committee makeup, and I welcome that, and I hope that becomes practice going forward. Will obviously this goes to the board, I believe. Board Office Director Kroll, manager. Sorry, I promoted you.
That's okay. It is going to the board on the meeting on Tuesday, January 27th. And so our practice is we'll update the board report now with once you guys still have to take a vote on the main motion.
Yeah.
Assuming that passes, we'll update the board report to reflect what you've indicated here. The committee appointments will take effect starting next week, and then the full board will ratify. There's some potential that the full board may choose to change it upon ratification, but for all intents and purposes, you're off to the races after today.
Okay, all right, thank you. Treasurer Banker.
Yes, thank you. Before we vote on the main motion, I did promise Director Rusha that I would raise this issue. She had called me a few days ago, and she had told me that her first choice was performance. And I told her I would bring this issue up to ask you, she would like to be on the performance committee. She currently, I believe, under your design would be in finance. Clearly, she could do both. And perhaps if you wanted to enlarge the performance committee with the discussion that we just had, trying to add Director Arcuri onto it too, I would just like to offer it as something for the executive committee to consider. We've got two folks that are interested in performance. Should we be talking about perhaps adding both of them so that there's always an odd number voting? I thought I'd just raise that for discussion.
Thank you, Treasurer Banker. I have had that conversation. It's kind of the same philosophy. Well, Director Rusha has longer term on the board than, well, not you, because you have everyone beat. But more than I do, it is still not someone who has been through a contract term with a CEO. And I think that's what I was trying to grasp with some of the longer term board members on this. So, and Director Geisinger has. And so that was a very difficult decision. Clearly two smart people that would be passionate about being on the committee, but that was the balance I was trying to achieve with it. And I think her contributions on finance are going to be so important, given we're going to take up issues like fair revenue and future spending. So that was the difficult decision, and I do recognize that. But thank you for raising it. Mr. Kroll.
Yes, I just wanted to briefly remind every director, Article 7, Committees of the Board, Section 1, Standing Committees. The committees named below are designated as standing committees of the Board of Directors. Each year, the newly elected Executive Committee will appoint between 5 and 7 directors to the other standing committees. So while certainly you all are free to contemplate changing the composition of your committees, I do believe if you wanted to enlarge any committee beyond 7, the first appropriate step would be to amend your bylaws and then go from there.
Okay, so a double action would have to happen. Okay,
Right.
That's good to know. Okay, it may come up with the full boards. That's good to know. Any other amendments or changes that the executive committee would like to the underlying motion? Okay, so I'm going to call the roll on the committee assignments for 2026 to move to the full board. First chair, Vice Chair Harwick.
I'm a yes.
Second, Vice Chair Gutenritter.
Yes.
And you are free to go, sir. Secretary Nicholson,
Yes.
Treasurer Banker,
Yes.
and I am a yes, and we will move this to the full board for consideration and discussion. Sorry, I'm going back to my form here. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so I think I've got it here. As outlined in the amended board bylaws, the full board must ratify the standing committee appointments, and the board will do so at our regular monthly meeting on Tuesday, January 27th. However, these will take effect as approved today and be in place for the committee meetings next week, obviously subject to approval and change. The board office will update the board report with the assignments to recap based on our discussion today. The following directors do I need to recap, Mr. Kroll?
We have it recorded here in the board office and
Thank you.
circulated if anyone has questions.
Thank you for allowing me to not torture people with the assignments yet again. Discussion items. There are no discussion items for today's meeting. Other matters, are there any other matters to discuss? Going once, twice, okay. All right, before we adjourn, I just want to remind everyone that our next meeting will be the regular monthly meeting for January, and it's scheduled for Thursday, January 22nd at high noon. At that meeting, we will review the board meeting agenda for the month, discuss our work plan for the year, and have our regular government relations update. We may also take up the issue of our board operating guidelines for an annual review and consider a bylaw change with respect to the board office executive manager position, as well as other bylaw amendments brought forward by directors Chandler and Banker. Thank you again for doing that, Treasurer Banker. That is heavy duty in their ongoing work to review the bylaws. I also want to note for committee members before I adjourn, this time has been a traditional time. We have some new members on the committee. If it is a difficult time for you to make, it worked for everybody who was on the executive committee last year. If this is difficult, please reach out to me or Mr. Kroll, and we can entertain a change, although if at all possible, I think we would like to stay with this. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. No one wants to leave.
Motion.
All right.
Motion and
Vice Chair Harwick.
She's gonna do them both.
Thank you. The meeting is now adjourned as of 12:28, and everyone tell Julian I beat his time. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Thank you for bearing with me as I'm learning this role.